meeting is for 1 hour and 30 minutes. Johnny B will be sharing on the bondage of self for 50 minutes. Johnny, thank you for your service and your willingness to share your life with us today. We are delighted to have you here with us at this meeting. At this time, please help me give a warm welcome to Johnny from Tayunga, California. His home group is the Beverly Hills Men's Stag. Welcome, Johnny, and over to you.
My name is Johnny, and I am alcoholic, and that's the most important thing I can say. I love this group. I love the graphics. I love the fact that you use the literature in the way that you do, that AA's 12 steps are a group of principles, spiritual in nature, which if practiced as a way of life can expel the obsession to drink and enable the sufferer to live happily and usefully whole. I think that's really important information for my life, because my life is important to me today. So the first thing I gotta say is welcome to all the newcomers and people counting days and people making your days count. And happy birthday to our birthday celebrants, 20 years and 35 years. That's a very good start here in Alcoholics Anonymous. I have, my sobriety date is March 20th, 2001. I have 8,009 days. So I have a lot of years, but not enough days sober. And I have alcoholism, and I got to know what I'm up against. So long before I ever had any alcohol, I felt super alone, that I wasn't on a level playing field with anybody, that I was the smartest kid in any room I was in, but I was also the worst person around. And I had a feeling of absolute shame and loneliness, a loneliness that was deep within me, and a fear-based child. And my inner dialogue talked to me about me. And although so there's a weird dichotomy where I really in many ways thought I was better than everybody, I was also convinced that I was worse than everybody. And of course, those are both lies. And at about 10 years old, I had my first drink, and holy smoke, all that shame and all of that negative self-talk about self and all of that judgment about me and all of that loneliness, I don't know if it went away, but it didn't bother me anymore. And that is proof to me that the family disease of alcoholism is not about alcohol, that alcohol is the treatment or the medicine, if you prefer, for that shame, for that guilt, for that egoic nature of being better than and worse than everybody, for what's wrong with me, my fault-finding mind. And that would be great if I could just use alcohol to treat it. But there's another problem associated with alcoholism. The fact that once I start drinking, I can't stop. I have it so many times. I would go to the pub, and I was a pub drinker for a long time. I would go to the bar on a weekday or a work day, if I was working the next day, with this idea that I was just going to have one or two drinks and go home early and wake up early and go to work early and get some stuff done and blah, 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 blah. And it never, ever happened one time because my mind had a new idea. And I would stay at the bar till closing, spend all my money. And now it's the bars close at 2 here in California, 2 a.m. So at about 1:45 or 1:30, I'd start to panic and make sure me or someone else was going to the liquor store to get some more and maybe some of alcohol's little helpers so we could all go meet somewhere and keep the party going. So I'm convinced that I have what the doctor's opinion calls the physical allergy, which means once I start, I can't stop. And the other problem is once I'm stopped, I can't stay stopped. So many mornings I would wake up. Well, every time I'd wake up with a hangover and empty pockets, I would say to myself, damn, I'm not drinking today. And it never happened once. I drank and used every day for 23 years. And so at 1, 2, 3, at some point, my mind came up with a new idea that, oh, come on. Your hangover's gone. It's not such a big, whatever it would say to me, because it's my mind and it speaks to me with great authority. It uses my voice and I believe everything it says. And that's not going to work. That's a tough pipe to get your lips around. So, in March of 2001, I was ended up in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I was in big trouble. There was an eviction notice on the door, and I was unemployable. And I called my mom, God rest her soul, and I told her I needed help, but I didn't mean it. I mean, I needed help, financial help, and they sort of, I guess, got some data from some of you guys, and they said, well, you can come back to LA and we'll put you in a detox. And I didn't have a lot of options, so I agreed to that. And she sent me a one-way ticket. I missed the plane. I ended up scrambling. I packed one suitcase with just the dumb stuff in it because I didn't know. I abandoned all of my belongings, and I ended up at a medical detox. Keep in mind, I was on a 23-year run, and they were, the only thing I remember is that at some point they came in with their tray of meds, and I said to the nurse, I don't want any more drugs. And I started laughing because I didn't mean I don't want any more drugs. I just meant I don't want any of the drugs that you're offering. I'm a much better pharmacologist for myself than you, as was my belief. But I said it, and my counselor at the detox suggested a rehab up the street from the detox. And my mom took me over there, and we, of course, I'm homeless, and I'm interviewing the rehab to see if it's good enough for a man like me. And it was a long-term treatment, 6-month commitment. And I agreed to it just because I had no options, and I had a plan. My plan was come live here with these people for 6 months. There's the food looks okay. There are 2-man rooms. There's a building in the back for the women, and they looked incredibly attractive to me. As it turned out, they were rehab hot. The odds are good, but the goods are odd. And I'm going to stay here for 6 months. And then I'm only 35. I'll move back in with my parents. That's not too old to live at home. I'll get a job as a, cook, because I was a chef. And I'll get an apartment, and I won't do any hard drugs, but I'll go back to drinking like a gentleman. And God had another plan for me. I thought I would be easy to make it for 6 months. So I talked about what it was like, and now I'm telling you what happened, because something incredible happened to me. So on my 3rd day at this rehab, there was a problem. I thought I could make it for 6 months without drinking. I couldn't make it 3 days. And I was shocked. And every bartender and drug dealer and family member knew that I was an alcoholic. The only person that didn't know I was an alcoholic was me. So I'm sitting in the lobby of this rehab, making my escape plan through the unlocked door. And they say the most common name for God is not Jesus or Yahweh or Adonai or any of those things. It's something, and something happened to me in that moment. The truth about my relationship with liquor and drugs penetrated through the layers of grandiosity and defiance into what the big book calls my innermost self, right? We had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were alcoholic. This is the first step in sobriety. And that happened to me with no thought or effort on my part. And I had a little nervous breakdown, and the obsession to drink was lifted from me. And it hasn't returned in almost 22 years. And to me, that is mind-boggling. Like, I can't believe it. You don't just go from drinking every day for 23 years to never drinking again for 22 years. I would think you have to wean off or something. But what I later learned in that moment of clarity, because I didn't know about your God or your big book or your 12 steps or anything, but those first 3 steps worked me in that moment. For the first time, I had a mature relationship with reality. And what I later learned happened to me was the act of surrender. That when that moment happened, the truth penetrated that I was rendered surrendered. And the act of surrender is followed by the state of surrender. And I was in this new and decidedly more positive phase. All of a sudden, I saw these people in the rehab that were smiling and laughing, and I wanted what they had, and I was willing to go to any length to get it. And I took actions that, like getting a sponsor and going to meetings and getting commitments and being willing to sponsor guys, that one day earlier would have been ridiculous. There's no way I'm going to your stupid meetings or reading your stupid book or taking suggestions from a sponsor, or certainly not writing an inventory, and absolutely not telling someone my secrets. You got to be out of your mind. But all of a sudden, because of that surrender, And any viable spirituality is founded in surrender. And I did all those things. And I was willing to fire the team of security guards in my mind that were guarding all those silly secrets that I thought were so unique to me in my terminal uniqueness. And I had an incredible experience. And I joined general service and I did the whole thing. And that when the act of surrender happens, what I later learned, really a lot of what I'm talking about right now comes directly from the Dr. Harry M. Tebow papers. Tebow was a contemporary of he was a great medical benefactor of Alcoholics Anonymous, as was Dr. Silkworth. But if you haven't read the Tebow papers, you can get them on the jaywalker.com. It's incredible how accurate this guy was. And not because what he said is such good information. It's that I identify 100% with what he's talking about, with the act of surrender, with the state of surrender, with the infantile persisting ego that he talks about. So if anybody's interested, I can send you a link, or you can just Google it, Harry M. Tebow. Anyway, so I'm in AA. I'm going to meetings. My life is getting better. I get an apartment with a sober roommate, which is a great thing to do if you're new. And little by little, my ego, which was smashed at that moment of surrender, is rebuilding. So I was on a major pink cloud because of that act of surrender, but I didn't have a pink parachute. And the ego's rebuilding, and I'm becoming the same man sober as I was drunk. And the negative mind function, that shame and guilt and judgment of me and judgment of you and loneliness, is all starting to little by slowly come back. It's the ego rebuilding. And I'm in meetings and I'm super uncomfortable. And I'm sharing at meetings like my life is great. But it's a lie, because I sit in the car, or I sit on the edge of the bed, and I think, this thing isn't working for me. And all of that hurt, I have a hurt mind, and hurt people, is all coming back, and I'm restless, irritable, and discontent. And my mind told me that AA doesn't work, so I stopped going to meetings at 5 years sober. At 7 years sober, dry, crispy, like you could have just snapped my ear off. Somebody should have been following me around with a fire extinguisher. I was so dry. All kinds of other neuroses started to infect my mind. And my mind, I used to think my mind was my brain, but it's not. It's not just thinking. It's my feeling life and my emotional life. All that discomfort, that tight chest, that anxiety about all of my problems, which pile up and become astonishingly difficult to solve, that needs some drinks. And it's a miracle that I never have relapsed, because I've had so much experience. This is my first time sober. And I have so much experience with suffering dry with untreated alcoholism. So it manifests like this. I'm impatient. I do everything in a hurry, and I don't do a good job at anything. I am really easily disturbed. And the moment I'm disturbed, I can't wait to tell you how disturbed I am and why I'm disturbed. It's really like I'm a baby, but not just a baby, but the term that Dr. Freud used was His Majesty the baby, because I'm the king by divine right, and everything I demand should be so, because I presuppose this weird thing where I'm a good God for you and for me and for my life, but I don't see my track record of abject failure. I have an unsatisfiable mind. There's never enough of anything. I presuppose, I believe that there's something in the future just outside of my reach that once I get that thing, I'm going to be okay. And it never, ever happens because it's always a step away. You would think that having is the solution to wanting, but as it turns out, having and wanting are completely unrelated. And all I do is want more. And I think that shopping or overeating or gambling or just some more sexual misadventures or whatever in the future is going to make me okay. And the whole thing is built on the lie that I'm not okay right now. So what I found a group that said AA's 12 steps are a group of principles, spiritual in nature, which if practiced as a way of life, can expel the obsession to drink and enable the sufferer to live happily and usefully whole. And I love my life. That's unbelievable to me. Alcoholism is a disease of the spirit. It's a disease of self-obsession. And I have a beautiful life. I have a great relationship with my wife. I have a beautiful little home up here in the mountains of Tujunga, California. I have mostly healthy relationships with people. I get to sponsor people. I get to pray for you. I get to think about someone other than me. So these guys, these people in this group that read what you guys read, I got a sponsor from that group, and they started to show me how to do that, how to take the principles off the page, off the literature, and put it in my life as a way of life. Because for my first many years in sobriety, I would see people would come to the meeting with a list of the principles from the steps: honesty, open-mindedness, willingness, courage, etc. And those are great. And my mind says I can do those things. But let's look at the truth. My track record shows I can't live up to it. This is right out of the big book. And if a mere, I can't remember the exact line, if a mere set of principles, a mere set of were enough, most of us would have gotten sober a long time ago. But I can't live up to those. So I need something simple, a way of life, starting with step one. Bill Wilson had 15 years between finishing the big book and starting the 12 and 12. And the first thing he writes, I love the big book. I think it's one of the most incredible things read. I'm a huge fan of the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. That book is a game changer if I take the principles out. So the first thing he writes after 15 years is, who cares to admit complete defeat? Surrender, right? This is the first thing. And the truth is, he says it, I can't achieve it. Just like the chances of a guy like me being abstinent from alcohol takes an act of providence. For me, with decades of sobriety and a giant ego that hates itself, the chances of me surrendering on my own power right now are zero. Only an act of providence can remove the great obsession. And I thought the great obsession was liquor and drugs and sex and food and shopping and blah, 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 blah. It never was that. The great obsession was always me. I'm obsessed with Johnny and how Johnny's doing and what Johnny wants, my will, my desire, and what I'm not getting and what you're doing to me and what that person in line at the store who has 15 items in his shopping cart, despite that sign that says 12 items, and my mind says, what are you going to do about it? Because I want to talk to everyone, the manager. I want to explain to this guy, blah, 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 blah. Because I'm the general manager of the universe for all that I see. I have to quit playing God, and I can't do that. But something incredible happens, and I think it's the third paragraph on page 21 in step 1 in the 12 and 12 that says, but upon entering AA, we soon take quite another view of this absolute humiliation. And I contemplated that line for years. See, this is the first principle for my life. And I'm talking about me and the way I can apply the program to my life as a way of life. The first principle that I can apply in my life is entering AA right now. See, this is very different than honesty, open-mindedness, willingness, courage. This is a principle in application. Enter AA and contemplate, right, this seemingly absolute humiliation. The absolute humiliation is not liquor. Although it was bad, the absolute humiliation is that I'm the wrong power for my life. That I cannot, one day at a time, I can never safely drink again. And thank God that in 21 plus years, my mind has never said to me, Johnny, you're uncomfortable and some drinks are going to help. And you're probably not really an alcoholic because you haven't had a drink in so long. If you were really an alcoholic, you'd be drinking. Blah, 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 whatever it says. It's never talked me into drinking in those years. And that's incredible. Because if my mind said it enough times to me, I would have been drunk. So I am sober by the grace of God. So I apply it this way. I enter AA. And the bottom comes up to meet me. we had to raise the bottom. We had to raise the bottom because the unmanageable life is deep within me. It's not out there. It's the restlessness, irritability, and discontentment within. It's my negativity, my judgment. It's my mind. So I see the truth about it. And the more I apply the steps, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the more solid step 1 gets. And under the lash of alcoholism, right now, I see the fatal nature of my disease. And I stand ready to do anything to lift the merciless obsession, which is self. I am self-obsessed. I'm not much, but I'm all I think about. And I'm constantly taking my own emotional temperature to see how I'm doing right now. And I'll tell you, it sucks. Because my mind tells me I'm never doing good. But if I ask you how I'm doing, or if I ask God how I'm doing, oh man, it's a whole different picture because I've never been enough. But I never asked enough of what? And enough for who? How could I have a belief that I'm not good enough? For 50 plus years of being on this earth and never once question what that means. This is the arrogance that was talked about at the beginning of the readings. See, I don't admit that I have a feeling life, and I don't admit that I have a subconscious. I just think it's all mental, that this whole thing is mental, and my self-talk is never going to work. So as I turn to step 1, I enter AA, the bottom comes up to meet me. For the seemingly the first time right now, I see my track record of abject failure. And I see that there are 2 powers in the world for my life. One is a power equal to self. And then there's another choice. There's another option. There's an open mind and a power that's not self. A power that's not equal to self, that doesn't question, what are you going to do about it? Every problem in my life is a step 2 problem. And my mind opens up to step 2. And I see how closed-minded I am. And how closed-minded that it's like a cell phone with no network. So it has to get all its own decisions for how to live in this world from within its little processor. There's no data coming from outside. It's all Johnny as the Lord of his life running things for the past 5 minutes or 5 days or 5 hours or 5 years or whatever. And this incredible gift of now happens, and my mind opens up to a power other than self. Not a God out there who's holding the rings of Saturn together, but a power for my decisions, for my life right now, some level of maturity. Nada. It's so amazing, the disparity. And every AA meeting is an assurance that God will restore me, to sanity if I rightly relate myself to him, to it. So I quit the debating society. And this only happens in my life if I have step 1 in the position, and step 1 in the place that it is. And instead of talking to me about me and talking to me about you and me about God and me about the steps, I start to relationship with God. And I start sharing my life with God. God, I'm here right now at an AA meeting. Thank you for the gift and the guidance. I'm so scared. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I need help right now. I can't forget everything I think I know about the program and about you for an open mind and a new experience. I'm never going to be able to do that. I need you. Can you be with me right now? Can you guide me what to say? And when my mind opens up to a power, see, step 2 is not about, it doesn't say came to believe in God. It says came to believe that a power greater than self could restore us to sanity. There's a big difference between believing in God and believing that a power can restore me to sanity, because that's an admission that drunk or sober, I'm whack. That my mind is dark. That we live on the most beautiful planet ever seen through a telescope, with clouds and waterfalls and architecture and just incredible, but I've never see it with alcoholism. I just see me and what's wrong. But with God, I can see a beautiful life. So, of course, in step 3 on page 37 of the 12 and 12, it says, oh, yes, we'll listen politely to those that would advise us. But all the decisions are to be mine alone. Besides, nobody's going to meddle, and I'm paraphrasing, no one's going to meddle in my inner life. Besides, there's no one I can surely trust. So I learned and I contemplated, what does it mean? What is my life? Well, I learned what my life was in step 1. It's my inner life. The thing that's either grateful or it's restless, irritable, and discontent. My life is in me. God is within me. The God that we're talking about, that I'm talking about, ain't out there. It's deep within me. Deep within every man, woman, and child is the fundamental understanding of God. And of course, I want to make a decision to turn my will, my desire, what I want, over to that power. It's impossible for me to say I'm not getting what I want if I've actually taken step 3 right now. And I'm talking about me, how this program works for me. I'm not here to tell anybody anything, just to share my experience. So I'm turning my will and my life over to God, and I don't get to decide anymore. I don't get to be the decider. There's a rule in Judaism where you're not allowed to go to the rabbi and ask him for advice unless you're 100% going to take it. So a lot of people, of course, don't go because they don't want the advice. So I call you, or I call my sponsor, and I pause when doubtful. See, I'm often agitated, and my mind never admits that it's doubtful about anything. But with step 2 in place, I can see that the whole thing is just built on a lie, that I'm doubtful. And I ask God for intuitive guidance. And I get to take a look at self. In step 3, I ask God relieve me of the bondage of self. Relieve me of the bondage of self. And what that means is that me can't be self. So I start this journey in step 4 of finding out what me is and what self is. In the big book, it says resentment's the number one offender. It kills more alcoholics than anything. But right before that, it says being convinced that self manifested in various ways was what had defeated us. Self manifested in various ways, what continually defeats me, because I think me is self. And it's not. All I am is awareness. All I am is what's looking. And every time what I am gets hijacked by self. So I'm identifying as self instead of what I truly am, which is pure awareness. So for the first time, I get to see right now, Johnny, that he's exactly the same as you, that these are common manifestations of self, and the uniqueness that's terminal uniqueness, which is the biggest problem about terminal uniqueness, is it's terminal. And that means it's going to kill me. Graveyard dead. Not like a dying of the self. I'm talking about the real kind of dead. That I see. Holy smoke. When I was new, they told me to look for this at the similarities, not the differences. That's more important today with decades of abstinence than it was then, because there is something incredibly unique about all of us, but it ain't self. It's the spark and fire for God that's deep within me. And now, from this position, seeing that there's no uniqueness about what I'm not, I can write inventory from a wholly objective standpoint. And every time I get some objectivity, it feels like it's the first time I've ever been objective. Because one thing I know about self-obsession and alcoholism is that it is a 100% subjective thing, and the subject is always me. I don't see my wife. I see my wife, how she affects me. I don't see the person in line at the supermarket with 15 items. I see how they affect me. Everything is about me. Like I'm the God, the center of some insane universe. This is a tough message for me to hear, for me to swallow this pill that I can never safely run my life again. I'm not management material, and I need to have a power that's great for my life, and I need it right now. And it's okay. And I'm human. And what a weird thing that I need to be reminded that I'm human. Because what else would I possibly think I am? And now I've got step 4 in my life as a way of life. I get to see beyond the first 2 columns, where most people, 99% of the people live in the first 2 columns. I'm resentful at you. What'd you do? You had too many items in your cart. And we leave it at that. But now I get to see, well, it affects my something, my self-esteem. See, I always thought rage was an emotion, anger, but it's not. I'm hurt that when my wife says something to me that I don't like, it's not that I'm mad at her, it's that I'm hurt, and I'm so immature that hurt comes out as rage. And I can never treat hurt with rage. I need to admit, I need to be with God. so I could admit the truth that I'm hurt, and hurt people, and recovered people help people recover. And step 4 is a simple piece of a big package of 4 through 8. And I get with God, and I see the exact nature. And I get to see that I'm harming people, and I'm harming myself, and I don't want to harm anybody anymore. That's a character change, because I didn't give a crap. I didn't even think I was hurting anybody but myself. This is a family disease, and everyone's affected, whether the alcoholic is drinking or not. And now I'm in amends. And I realize that my behavior needs to change now. And the whole covenant that I made with you guys and with God 21 plus years ago was to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And that's where the magic is. Love and service. That when I'm helping you and I'm thinking about you, the character is growing and the character is changing, and my life is important to me. And by being a giver, see, I can't do it. I can't be a giver. But as I deconstruct self with 4 through 9, I'm free to be with God, and I become attractive to me and to God. And now I have a message, and I have a willingness and a desire to love you and to act and to be of service. They say, if you want to learn about a thing, read about it. If you want to understand a thing, write about it. But if you want to master a thing, teach it. And when I take you through the inventory, and when I take you through the steps, I get to see so much more about me. It's incredible. When I apply these principles in the way that I've talked about, in the way that I've learned, I get to see how great my life is. I get to see how great a relationship with you can be. I get to see that my fear of people is real and it's illusory, that there's no point. And I fall in love with you, and I fall in love with God, and I fall in love with me and being human. And that's such a far distance for an alcoholic. Untreated alcoholism, it's like I'm in a domestic violence situation and I live alone. I just beat myself up. And God loves me so much. If I ask me how I'm doing, I'm not doing so good. But when I start this relationship with God and ask God how I'm doing, I get a completely different answer. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be here. And I've talked way too much. So I'm going to listen to what you guys have to say. So thanks for having me out. I love you.